A quick thank you to the T5 peeps, Bob the Dragon, Datamagnet, Cat Crab Lobster, DuckMachine, Astraya the Dreamer, Mezec, Feudic Jarl, Casper Arnholtz, and Chaos-Mist. Thank you very much. Story number 1. Humanity Lived On, written by CT24601. Tell us again, Uncle. Tell us again of the stories of your planet. The old man chuckled. He sank his body, weathered by time and gravity, and now disease, deeper into the seat that had claimed him. It had never been designed for him, and even now it was strange to see him there, dwarfed by the curved back and unable to position his feet. Yet, there was not a man, woman, or child in the village who would question that it was his. "Very well," the man said, his smile displaying both wariness and excitement. "Which would you like to hear?" "Tell us about Washington," the boy shouted towards the front, his antennae twitching excitedly. "No, do Icarus, Gagarin." The children clamored, shouting over each other as their voices filled the crowded hall. Even a few of the adults chimed in, calling from where they lined the back wall. Stories of the heroes and villains, great adventures to tragedies, and the human knew them all. Even tales of their own venerable ancestors, great men and women of the village, who the old man had outlived by generations. Every villager had a favorite story, from the first human legends to the great battles of the Soul War, and they all sought to have theirs told. Yet there was one cry that rose above the others. "Tell us a new story." The chorus of assent rose from the villagers. A new story was rare, even though the old man had enough to last a lifetime. Perhaps this would be one of the nights that a new story was told, when a new legend entered the village's canon. The old man shifted in his seat. "Very well," he sighed. "There is a story that none of you have heard. This is the story of a man named Alexei." A chorus of excitement murmurs were quickly silenced as the man began his tale. "When the humans first made contact with another race, we were ecstatic. We had yearned so long to not be alone in the universe. It was only natural that we embraced our fellow travelers with joy and wonder. We spread across the galaxy, sharing and learning with all we found. But not everyone wanted to share. There were those who would fight and kill and take, rather than cooperate. And so we met them in the 1,000 battles. They had heard this part before, of course. They knew the battles of Rigel and Betelgeuse, when human ships triumphed through wit and ingenuity. And they knew of Sirius and Vega, when a few hundred humans sacrificed themselves for the sake of their fellows. Yet what followed came as a shock to all. But all of humanity's efforts were not enough. Our attackers were too numerous, too determined, and they wiped us out on every colony until they reached Earth. And then they destroyed that too." The mood in the room had shifted abruptly. Even when the man told tales of tragedy, they ended on a heroic note, of sacrifice or bravery in death, and he told them with a grand, adventurous nature. Now, pain contorted his features as he spoke. The villagers waited with bated breath. In all of his stories from the war, the old man had never spoken of its conclusion. They had all assumed the humans had won. After all, the man was here, wasn't he? The lost ship, scattered and disorganized, and still the enemy was not satisfied. They chased down every ship, every refugee that they could find, determined to wipe out every lost human in the galaxy. One of the last ships to fall was a merchant ship called the Herbies. They'd been out on the frontier when the war started, and they'd been able to hide for the first few years. This ship was the ship Alexei served on, and eventually the war caught up to them. The enemy attacked TFOS1150. The battle was over before it started. Hermes had no weapons and minimal armor. When the enemy began boarding, to make sure every single member of the crew was killed, Alexei knew what he had to do. Most of the crew had been killed in the battle, but Alexei and a friend were still alive. The friend had been knocked unconscious, though, and the enemy was closing in on them. So Alexei did one of the bravest things a human has ever done. Tears streamed openly down the man's face. The villagers sat in stunned silence, wondering who could be braver than Achilles or Tank Man. Alexei ran the ship's last working shuttle, pointed it towards the nearest habitable planet, and put his friend aboard. He ran back to the bridge and launched the shuttle remotely. And steering the crippled ship on his own, he positioned the Hermes between the shuttle and the enemy, blocking their sensors long enough for the shuttle to escape undetected. The video of his execution was played across the galaxy. The enemy declared that humanity, man lost, had been eliminated. It wasn't true, of course, but what was left of us were too scattered to ever rebuild or reproduce. The enemy won. The man stopped speaking. The villagers, even the children, watched silently as he slowly raised himself from his seat and hobbled out of the hall. The mandibles began to twitch with grief. The wordless clack-clacking filled the hall, the gravitas of the extinction overcoming the village. The old man died that night. The villagers found him in the morning, taken by disease after outliving 3 generations of federal. In his small trunk, they found a tattered uniform, Hermes neatly stitched above the left breast. They mourned him as one of their own. The eldest amongst them told the stories that their grandparents had told of the man who had come from a comet. One told of the time that they had been lost in the forest overnight, and the man had shown her how to make a fire with wood alone. Another of how a man had faced down a group of marauders alone while the villagers sought cover. And for generations to come, the village told stories not just of the man, but the stories that he had told them. They told stories of Icarus and Washington and Gagarin and Alexei. They grew from children who played at sacrifice and heroism, stealing names from old man's stories into heroes, ready to sacrifice themselves for the sake of the village. And in a tiny, forgotten corner of the galaxy, long after the humans became extinct, the man was not forgotten. Alexei was not forgotten. And humanity lived on. End of story. Story number 2. An Alien's First Halloween, written by Redshift Razor.
Jeremy, I wasn't aware you humans had such a wide variety of supernatural creatures to be concerned about.
What exactly do you mean, Blue?
Well, I was doing my research on human culture and found that it'll soon be the night of Halloween.
Ah, that's what you're concerned about. It's nothing major, just an opportunity for the kids' costumes and gratuitous amounts of sugar. Do you have something similar on your world?
In the past, we had appeasement rituals for these types of creatures, yet this stopped during our industrial age, when we wiped these customs and creatures out.
Aw, that sounds like no fun. You guys should celebrate Halloween as well.
Celebrate? Is it not your version of an appeasement ceremony?
Huh?
Why else would you offer them all this confectionery, if not appeasement?
Blue, I think you're misunderstanding something. The supernatural creatures you see are nothing more than people in costumes.
Blue put his hand on his chin in a contemplative pose, which only perplexed Jeremy.
What are you thinking about, Blue?
You say that Halloween isn't an appeasement ceremony, and that these supernatural creatures don't exist. Yet I don't think that that's the case.
Why not, Blue?
Because last night I encountered what I know is a vampire in a duel with a human in a back alley near a food plaza.
Stop joking, dude. What's the real reason?
No, I'm completely serious, Jeremy. The vampire leapt onto the human who had dropped a wooden pointy stick. He screamed at me to help him, and being unsure what to do, I picked up the stick and stabbed him.
What? You did what? What if you killed him?
I know you humans are hardy, so I didn't really consider it at the time. And besides, I did kill him. He turned into ash and dust immediately after I stabbed him.
This is one of your jokes, isn't it?
No, I'm being completely serious. Once he turned into dust, the human on the ground thanked me profusely. He called himself, Van Helsing Jr., I believe, and I have the CCTV recording if you wish to see it.
You know what? I'll take you up on that.
10 minutes later, Jeremy was standing still in the corner, contemplating the world-shattering video he'd just seen. He had checked, double-checked, and triple-checked the video to see if it was edited, but it was completely genuine. Blue had really killed a vampire with a stake to the heart. Oh, and Jeremy.
Yes, Blue.
Van Helsing Jr. is offering us 10 million credits to delete the video and never tell anyone of what we've seen. You down?
Sure, man. We could use the 10 million.
Okay, then.
Happy Halloween, Jeremy. Happy Halloween, Blue. End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you do, please consider supporting the author, even by popping over and leaving a thumbs up or a nice comment, just to show your appreciation for the story. However, if you wish to support this channel, there are links down below which will help immensely. I will see you all in the next one, and until then, I hope that you have a fantastic day. Cheers.